Have you ever met someone who always gets what they want in life and whose luck always seems to be on their side? Well, today I'm gonna teach you how to become that person. My name is Daphne McKnight, and today I'm gonna show you 5 things that rich people do that poor people don't. Now, before I start this video, I wanna start off by saying that, and making a little disclaimer actually, that I'm gonna be using these following words: rich, wealthy, and poor. Now, I'm not referring or classifying, putting people into categories according to their financial status, nonetheless, social status. I'm going to be referring to rich and wealthy, to a rich and wealthy mindset, an abundant mindset and positive mindset as well. And to poor, to a very, obviously the total opposite, which would be a very negative and with lack of everything pretty much type of mindset. Now, I'm going to start right away, and that would be, the number one is going to be, rich people think big, poor people think small. This is a very common one, and have you not noticed that rich people always tend to aim for the highest, and poor people think they won't get it, so therefore they kind of aim for the, most approachable, if you will, or the lowest category or the lowest type of goal that they can get. Now, this is something that I would like you to start applying or implementing into your life. Why? Because if you reach for something that's about here and you don't reach it to the fullest and just you reach it a little below it, you're still going to be satisfied. It's not the point to not reach your primary goal, but in case you don't, you're still going to be satisfied and very happy with the result that you get out of that project. Now, when poor people aim for something around here, which is already something that they're maybe not completely okay with, but they are like, okay, this is the most I can get. If they get less than that and they fail or they don't have full success in their project, they're gonna be even, probably more sad, or they're gonna be less satisfied because it's not what they aimed for, and in fact, they got even less than that. Number 2 would be, rich people choose to be paid based on results, and poor people choose to be paid based on amount of hours worked. Now, how does this work? This works in a way that usually the vast majority of people choose to be employees because they don't really want to risk it all, and that's why they, the problem really is that our time is limited. So if you choose to be paid per hour, your wealth will also be limited. And if you didn't quite get that, just go back on the video, listen to it again. You'll probably understand it the second time you listen to it. Rich people usually aim for something really big, not really caring about how much is it that they have to risk. Now, poor people rather just settle in and really, it would probably be settling for just enough to live a comfortable life, if you will, if you can put it that way. Now, rich people, they really want to risk it all because they know that they can get very much success out of it. Number 3 would be, rich people always choose both. Poor people have to decide either this or that. This is something that is very, very common, and I see it very often in poor people's mindset. They were raised that way, and if they were not raised that way, they kind of grew up into that mindset of saying, okay, I don't really think I can have both of these. They don't feel like they deserve it, and therefore they feel like they have to choose between either this or that thing. Now, rich people, on the other hand, I'm not saying that they were born into it or they were raised that way, but they've taught themselves that if you want this and you want this also, then you can get both of them. You just have to work a little bit harder to get it. Now, there's a quote by Robert. He's a very successful entrepreneur, and he's got a quote, and that is, "Don't say I can't afford it. Instead, think, how can I afford it?" That's what rich people usually do, and that's why they tend to have it all. So you don't see the full side of it, where they really do start thinking about how is it that they can manage to afford both things. Poor people rather settle. And the thing is that poor people most of the times think that money is going to prohibit you from having other stuff in life or from having other benefits in this life. Per se, they say you can either have money or happiness, or you can either be wealthy or be nice. It doesn't really work that way, and that's what it's a really it's a mindset that is going to limit you from really getting what you want in this life. Why do I say that? Because you don't necessarily have to be a bad person to have money. Now, the only thing that you have to take into consideration is the fact that money is only going to bring up what you are really deep down inside up to the surface. Now, if you're a very bad person, if you're prideful, if you are someone who's arrogant and who's a mean person, then that's what money is going to bring up to the surface. Now, if you are a very nice, kind, and humble person who likes to help others, that's just going to be amplified times 10 when you have the money. Number 4 would be rich people focus on opportunities and poor people focus on obstacles. This is a very big one. When I was a little bit younger, I would tell my idea to most people. Like 99% of the times, I would only get pretty much, I would get 1,000 ways on how is it that my idea was going to fail. And then the 1% would tell me how is it that my idea was going to be very successful. Now this is a very big one because I hadn't really thought of it until a bit ago when I was doing just the list of the things that I wanted to talk about in this video, and that would be really the people who would tell me how is it that my idea would be a failure or would fail would be the people that I didn't want to be like. If you ever want to really take someone's opinion into consideration or really think okay, should this criticism that was just sent to me, should this hate comment that was just sent to me, is it really important? Who is it coming from? Is it coming from someone who's already got everything that I want in this life? Or is it coming from someone whose life I don't want at all? There's a very a simple and a very it can probably sound odd to you, but it actually makes a lot of sense. It's a little analogy that I'm gonna give to you for you to take this into another level of understanding, if you will. That would be, if you want to become a doctor, you're not going to ask for career advice to an architect. Obviously, they don't have what you want to have. They're not where you want to be, so you're not really going to take into consideration whatever it is that they want to say about your career, because they're not where you want to be. So the same thing, if you're asking a poor people, maybe they're not poor, they're not broke, but they don't have the life you want to have. They're not where you want to be. You're not going to ask them for advice because they're not where you want to be. So their results, if you take into consideration their advice or their idea, you're going to get their results. You should take the idea of the person that you see as a role model. Number 5 would be, and this one is personally my favorite, and that would be rich people associate with positive and abundant people. Poor people, on the other hand, associate with very negative and unsuccessful people. It's very obvious. This has to do with a quote that I absolutely love, and that would be, you are the sum of what you surround yourself with. I'm pretty sure your mom even said that to you in the past, and has said that whoever your friends are is who you're truly going to become. Now this is very important. Why is that? Because energies are contagious. Let me give you a little example for you to understand a little better. Now, have you ever been having a bad day and suddenly you run into someone and you talk to them for about 10 to 10 minutes, and suddenly when they leave and you're on your own again, don't you feel better? Have you not had that experience before in the past where you've been feeling very low, very low vibrational, that you run into somebody and they make you feel better? Well, that's because their energy is very good. They're in a very high vibrational alignment with happiness and joy, and they shared it with you. Now, what do you think would happen if you constantly hang out with negative people, with people who only sees life as cruel and as unfair? What you think is going to happen? You're going to start thinking like them, and therefore you're going to start attracting that reality into your life, and I very much doubt that's something you want to do or want to have. If you want to become rich, hang out with rich people, act the way they act, read what they read, and really study them and see them as a role model and do what they do. There's something about rich people that you already know, and if you don't, well, I'm going to tell you right now, and that would be, rich people read a lot. Rich people don't ever stop learning because they don't want to limit themselves to be able to burst their full potential. So if you want to become a rich person, you should start hanging out with more people. If you have negative people in your life, I'm not saying ditch them or stop talking to them, but try not to hang out with them as much, because unless you want their reality, then you should change your friendships. So that was all for today's video. Those were the 5 things that rich people do that poor people don't. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone you think that could make a very good use of this content.